I'm gonna move on, and I'm since you're talking, we're gonna drop down to Keisha, your wife, and we're gonna let Keisha share a few things about her business. Keisha is a native from Ohio. I don't know how they connected. I mean, I do know how they connected. So we got the North and the South in the same household, and she's done her thing. And come on, Keisha, and just um, I'm gonna have to give you that Baptist. Don't let me have to hold that finger up
I was
on
trying to
you,
make sure
because I know
Elliot
you're
was
not gonna be.
cooperating.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so like LaTondra said, I am originally born and raised in Ohio. I was raised in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio. Um, Went to undergrad and graduate school there, and moved to Georgia for my first job as a speech pathologist. I oh goodness, have been a speech pathologist for over 15 years now. And like Jonathan said, when I met him, he definitely came from a family of entrepreneurs and small business owners, which was different from myself. You know, both of his parents own small businesses, like he mentioned, Tanya's mother and other aunts, and lots of people who are entrepreneurs and small business owners. So he already had that mindset, and he always did encourage me to start my own business, which took a while to get me to, not think of it as, oh, you don't really have a job if you own a small business, because I just never thought about it that way. I thought about going to college and you work for another company. So that is what I did until actually about this time last year, where I started working on my business in 2017, very, very slowly. And my thought process was that I would continue to work full time. For most of my career as a speech pathologist, I have worked in medical settings, skilled nursing facilities, long term acute care hospitals, things like that. But as an entrepreneur, I knew that it would probably be more likely that I would have success working in pediatrics as a pediatric speech pathologist. So I, started, to get more experience in that area, to, work on my skills with children, establish my business officially in 2017. And the goal was to continue working full time and then just slowly, build the business part time. And that is what I was doing until coronavirus. So actually, March 17th to be exact, I went to work, and they had just begun the screening process that we're also familiar with now, getting your temperature taken and all of that good stuff. And I failed the temperature screening. And I didn't really feel good. I mean, I had some sort of illness, but at that time there wasn't a lot of testing and things of that nature. So um, I was diagnosed as presumptive positive of COVID-19. And so I guess to make a long story short, I wasn't really content with the company that I was with anyway. And my doctors, they were extremely generous and gave me actually, I think like 2.5, almost 3 months off to try to get my employer time to get the appropriate PPE and things like that before I came back. But my whole mindset was, I really don't want to go back.
Mhm.
So during my time off, I, worked as hard as I could to really learn the business, because again, I was taking my time. I had gotten to where I was comfortable with working with the children, but I had to figure out, okay, well, how do I get reimbursed for my services? And so in my mind, and Jonathan and I talked about a plan that, if you can figure all this out, and get, X many clients by the time they say you need to go to work. If you have those things in place, then you don't have to go back. And, I was working and thinking, I'm like, this is not going to work. I have no clue. And every time I would think, okay, I'm going to have to go back to work, it's like, well, it is. The Lord would send somebody and they would teach me what the next step was. It was just like step by step. So I think it was May 3rd. So March 17th, I left the job, and May 3rd, I officially gave my resignation from my full-time job. And since then, I have been working for myself for Speech Teachers of North Georgia. Right now, we primarily provide pediatric services, intervention for ages birth to 3. So, like Jonathan said, we're expecting another little one. So, um, that's kind of where we are for now. But we hope to grow and scale as we, get used to having another little person in our family. But it truly is because of Jonathan, the push he gave me from the background from his family, and just always for him, having that mindset of having a family business and growing in that way that, it's possible that I am to be, I am where I am today. So thank you,
Very
husband.
good. Very good. Well, we're gonna go to the next set of Jacksons now. I had two aunts. They were a few years apart. Both of them married Jacksons. They were from two different families. So all these Jacksons are not related. Just had two aunts married two Jacksons. Like my mother married a Robert. We had a Mary who married a Robert. So just some uniqueness in our family. So we're gonna go to Dr. Etosha Butler Jackson, better known as Toe. Come on, Etosha.
Hello, everybody. So I guess just a little bit about me. I am married into the family. I did marry LaTondra's cousin, Enos Jackson. I am a first generation graduate from the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. I graduated from there with my major in biology, and then I also have a bachelor in psychology as well. While there, kind of got to thinking, toying with the idea of whether I want to do med school or whether I want to go the nursing route, and just kind of having conversations with people on both sides of the field. I ended up wanting to do nursing. So left Ole Miss, graduated from there, and went to the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in Memphis, where I got my master's in nursing, did some critical care work in neurosurgery at LaTondra Children's here in Memphis. And then from there, I went back to school. Some say apparently I love school. I don't think I do. But went back to the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, where I got my doctorate of nursing practice with an emphasis in family nursing. So as LaTondra said, I am a family nurse practitioner that I work at the Hollywood Primary Care Clinic in Memphis. That is an extension of Regional One Health, and I've been doing that since graduation. I enjoy it. As a family nurse practitioner, I'm seeing patients with your common, your diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, but then also for any acute illnesses, earaches, any swelling, or people that might come in and need referrals for congestive heart failure or for rheumatology. So a wide gamut of things from a family healthcare standpoint. And then also, because I do treat the family, I see adolescents all the way up to geriatrics as well. So it's fun. No 2 days are alike. There's always something interesting that walks through the door. So it's never a dull moment. I love it. And then, speaking of pushes, I did get pushed this past year to share in my story about how I came to be a nurse practitioner and just some of the challenges that come along with being a first generation grad, some of the challenges that come along with studying for such a large exam. So, as LaTondra said, I do have my book sitting next to me. So I did.
Just hold it up, girl. Just
So
hold
I
it up.
finally got my books in with the help of a lovely publisher that I met while at Ole Miss. I was able to get my story out along with 29 other women of color, and we share our stories. It's a pretty much an inspirational book. It's a collection of short stories from all of us, and we talk about our journey. It's the journey to how we came to be who we are, any challenges that we may have had to overcome. And so I just hope that with sharing my story and then also the ladies sharing their stories as well, that people can see that things happen, life happens. Nobody's perfect. We all have to go through trials and tribulations. But when we're tested, that's when we show who we are, the true nature of who we are. And so hopefully other women can be inspired, men as well. But yeah, definitely women, especially, and for I would say especially for women, because so many times we're looked at as having to wear so many different hats, and we're trying to be mom, wife, sister, aunt, and caregiver, and all these other things, taking care of the home. And sometimes we get tired, and sometimes we need a little bit more encouraging, a little push along the way to
Big
let us
push.
know.
Push.
Yes, push. Pray until something happens. That one too. So sometimes we need the extra push. So that is my story in the journey.
Will you put your information in the chat so if anybody wants to order your book,
Yes.
they can. We Facebook Live, so I don't have anything running across the ticker just yet. I hadn't gotten there yet, so it's coming. So
So
it's
yes,
coming.
I'll definitely put it in the comments so that we can share it. And then also, I am on. You can find me on IG, Instagram, and then as well as Facebook. It's with my name, nothing crazy. So you can find me that way, and I can
Okay.
share it
All
that way.
right. All right.
And there is an ebook available.
Oh, an ebook. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna drop down. We're gonna push on to bring this thing back to the city of Memphis with Lieutenant Concetta Harris. Come on, Lieutenant. I want to call you Doctor, but you Lieutenant
No,
Concetta
Lieutenant,
Harris.
Lieutenant,
Yes,
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Yes. Good morning,
Yes.
everybody. Hope everybody is doing great. It is
Look like you
definitely
want to
cold
say,
here in
"Praise the
Memphis.
Lord, saints." Go ahead.
That would be my father. That would be my dad. But I just want to thank LaTondra for having me on this podcast. I was really, really nervous about it. I'm like, what is it that I have to say about my life? But I want to talk about her and her family. I met their family through her aunt, which is Martha Jackson. I graduated from the University of Tennessee at Martin with a degree in a Bachelor of Science in Social Work and a minor in French. I don't know how the French got attached to it, but I just love that language. But in coming out, I had my first job in early childhood. Early childhood, and her aunt, Martha Jackson, was working there as a lead teacher. And fresh out of college, I want to save the world, all the children, and all of that. And as we call her Mott, Mott explained to me that God has the corner on that market already. So you just do what you can do. Unfortunately, my first job in social work was not the greatest experience that one would choose to have. But Mott was right there for me and encouraged me to keep going forward, and that this first job did not have to be my last job. Mott moved on and in early childhood to another space, and fortunately, a spot came up in that spot. And for social work, and back in those days, daycare centers who received federal funding had to have a social worker on board in order to make sure that all the social needs of their clients were met. And that was me. So I got to my second job, and there was mine. There was mine. And again, encouraging, loving, nurturing, telling me what, don't do that, that's not a good idea, and all that. And
I
I
can
just put
believe it.
all that in. But to make a long, long story short, as short as I can possibly make it, this family tree is in my family because as the world turned and I went on and left um, early childhood for firefighting, and I explained why I did that, Martha was very encouraging. She wasn't like, oh my God, don't do that. Um, when I left, she was like, go do what you need to do for your family. And how that occurred was I looked up, and then just having a Bachelor of Science in social work did not bring in a lot of money. I looked up one day and I had one less husband and two girls by myself with one income. And I was teaching fitness at a fitness facility 3 times a week. So my day was like get up, drop the girls off at daycare, go to work, pick them up, stop at Burger King, go teach a fitness class, leave there, go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then let's go to bed and do it over again. Not the type of parent that I wanted to be. So I asked God, I said, please help me find something that I would be able to be a better parent and be a active, hands-on parent. At that time, I was working for Governor Sundquist on a special project with community health development. And we were trying to get kids who were in danger of going into state custody, out of state custody, and to keep those, try to reunite them. So we were making up really creative plans. When it started out, I was only supposed to have 25 kids. Ended up, I had over 100 kids all over the state. And it was almost impossible to provide a really good service for them and their families. So on the day that I was about to throw my boss out of the 13th floor window, like for real. For real, I got a call from the city of Memphis that asked that I want to be a fire recruit for Memphis Fire. I had really forgotten about it. But because of great people in my community, a lady who worked for the city of Memphis would try to make sure everybody in the neighborhood had a job. She worked for human resources for the city of Memphis, and her sons were firefighters for the city of Memphis, and her daughter worked for the city of Memphis. So one Sunday they came down the street and they said, are you going to apply for the Memphis Fire Department? I'm like, heck no. I had just left church. The spirit was high. My feet were hurting. And I didn't have a babysitter. But my mom said, I watch the children. I said, ain't nobody talking to you, lady. But I went to the Coliseum. At that time, that's that circle building, for those of you who don't know, that the city is trying to figure out what to do with. And at that time, the only way to apply was to get a paper application. But the line was from the front door all the way to Southern Avenue of people wanting that job, thousands. So I got an application. I was so excited about it that at the day I was supposed to turn in the application, I was riding around Orange Mountain at 10 o'clock at night trying to get my paperwork notarized. And I did get it notarized at some mortuary, I don't even remember. But I went to apply. I did the agility test, and I told you I was doing fitness, so I was tight. So I did great on the agility test. But they put me on a list, and 2 years later, they called me. And that's how I got to
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. The waiting list was 2 years, so I kept working, and that's how I started working for Governor Sundquist and working with a group and doing all of that. Mott was in my life and all of that. And they called me on the day that, was not going to go well for somebody. But I got a phone call. And they said, well, when can you come down to City Hall? During that time, I danced with the Nubian Theater Company. There's an African-American dance company that does dances around the Mid-South. We danced in Atlanta and a lot of other places around the country. And so I had long braids at the time. I know you can't tell, but I had long braids. And so I went to City Hall and they offered me a job. And one thing they said, well, would you mind cutting your hair? And I said, I bought this. Not a problem. So I showed up at class, and class started at 7 o'clock. I got there about 5 minutes to 7. And the only seat was front and center. And I had my little backpack, and I was ready. And so I'm going through the class and knocking stuff off of my backpack, saying, excuse me. And this guy in the back just said, there was some seats here at 6:30. I don't think this was a good idea for me. I'm an early girl, and all that hollering, I'm not with that. But anyway, I did stay. And that gentleman told me, he said, let me tell you something. These people are glad to see you. They expect you to wash out in about 2 weeks. If that, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're Black and you're female, and you're a mother. So, you just a statistic. But what I'm going to do for you is every day, I'm going to stand out on this balcony and make sure you get to work on time. And when you don't, I'm going to let you know. Mm-hmm. I thought that guy hated me up until 5 years ago. But he was there. He was there for me. I never had any problems in the class, but I was the only female in a class of 54 gentlemen. And I was the only one that took care of my kids. Now, even with the best dad, Jonathan, babies go with mamas. So when they went home, they were relaxing in the easy chair and doing what they do. And I had 2 little girls, ages 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you doing? Well, what we gonna eat? Well, why you got more bubbles in the tub than we do? Da, 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 da. Just do what you do. But I graduated in the class. The first time I cut my hair was in the fire class. Because when I took my hat off, my hair was sticking up like this. So you see, I like a nice little clean look. And so one day I went to the barber shop and she said, girl, beauty shop brother, she said, we're going to cut this. So I got out of her chair, went around the corner, not at Vales, went around the corner and I cut all my hair off. The guy I was dating, he came and he was about like 6'3", and I'm 5'4". And he put his head on top of my hair and spun me around like a top and said, what are you doing? I had to let him know, these two down here, they got the same last name I got. And I got to take care of them. And since my name not your last name, then this what we do. Went to class, and the guys in the class came over to me and said, I like your hair. And I knew I was in. I was in. But I did graduate in the class. I was the 7th African-American female and the 14th female in October of 1995. And here we are in 2020, and they're not over 20. They're not over 90 females on the Memphis Fire Department. It's unfortunate, but I'm working on it. While I've been on Memphis Fire, there's been a lot of firsts, but they're just part of my flow of life. But it came to me the other day. I was at a fire station, and this guy that doesn't look like me, he said, I wrote a paper about you when I was in elementary school for Black History Month. And it just took me aback.
Wow.
Because I'm like, what in my life have I done for you to write about me for Black history when you were in elementary school and you're standing in front of me and you're now in your early 30s? He said, my mom found out about you and I wrote about you, and this gentleman is a firefighter.
Wow.
I was like, wow. It was really something, because all I wanted God to do was to bless me enough to take care of my girls. That's all I wanted. 25 years ago. I have been on the fire department 25 years. I came on when I was 33, the same age that Jesus decided that he was going to go ahead and talk to the world. When I left Fire Academy, I went to Engine House 33. I believe in numbers. I do believe in God, the creator, but I also believe that everything has a purpose. And God is not one of haphazardness. He is always about purpose. But I said that to say, I could wake up tomorrow and say, I quit. I retire. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay a couple of more years.
Just hang on in there.
Honey, when you come back to me, we can talk about the different firsts that have just come to my life since I've been on the fire department, just as part of my journey. I didn't set out to make history. I set out to take care of 2 little girls, now 3 little girls. My girls are 33, 32, and 22. Now that 22-year-old, I went on a cruise, she came back with me. Okay. But I love my job. I would miss my job, but I've given them a quarter of my life, and I look forward to the journeys that God has left for me.
I'm gonna give you some license too. You and Jonathan, I'm gonna ordain y'all when I see you. Yes. I want to add to this before I move to our very last guest. Consider, I majored in social work, and before you left to go to the firefighter, or with CSA, I should say, I came to Riverview, Kansas, to do some field observation.
Yes.
With Miss Manning, with Diane Manning, and
Definitely.
the social work unit was on the second floor.
Yes.
And so they sent me out with another older lady that didn't look like us in South Memphis. And I was like, y'all gonna put me in the car with her? I know South Memphis, but does she know South Memphis?
What?
So then I came back in the office, I said, the next person I go out with got to be somebody else other than this little lady right here, because she doesn't know South Memphis. I just I wasn't afraid. I'm just saying. She claimed to be the best social worker she could be.
I
But
remember her. I
I
remember
was
her.
like, ma'am, you know where you going? Evidently not. So I was like, I'm going with Concetta. My next observation, my next home visit is with Concetta. So hadn't
Yeah.
seen Concetta for almost 20. I lost about 22 years with Concetta. So we connected again at
Yes,
Jesse
we did.
Man, and it was 2016 maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, somewhere around there. She was doing Zumba. Came to do Zumba for the staff. Um, yeah, so that's when I saw her again.
So
Last
let me just say one more thing to you, if you guys don't mind. I forgot to wrap this tree around. Mott is LaTondra's aunt, Jonathan's mom. When my oldest daughter was in daycare, Mott was there for my daughter. When my grandson of my oldest daughter was born, I was looking for a good, safe place for him to be. Who did I find and call? Mott. LaTondra was his teacher. She wasn't supposed to be his teacher, but he was so special. LaTondra saw it about him that he needed some extra love. Now, I'm all
extra.
about that extra love. And she loved my baby boy, my grandbaby boy, and he is awesome now. She told me, don't worry, he's in good hands. I got him. So their family tree is my family tree. From my daughter, who's 33, to my grandson. And I just appreciate and love the whole family so much. And just let
I'm
y'all
gonna
know,
give y'all
thank you
some
so
license.
much.
I'm gonna give y'all some license. Now my production been holding up a cue card like this right here, but I forgot I got all these saved and sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost folk on here. Armor bearers, deacons, and trustees, and deaconess, and missionaries, and everything.